this organization was pioneered to establish a forum which could address the security and economic concerns of those countries who do not enjoy a great trust and support from the Western powers. SCO brings together 4 different and important regions: the Northeast Asia, Central Asia, and then you have East Asia, and then the 4th region is South Asia. So basically, SCO brings together these 4 regions.
Do you think that Shanghai Cooperation Organization will be able to further progress and thrive?
I think it's a good sign that the environment in which this SCO Summit was held was cordial, friendly. India is going to open a consulate of Taiwan in India, which has been strongly protested by Beijing. If I were to summarize and interpret what Mr. Jaishankar said in his speech, India is there in SCO as a US listening post. It is not there to participate or to contribute towards the Belt and Road Initiative. Those people who see Pakistan's proximity and improving relations with Russia or deepening Chinese trust in Pakistan, I would like to advise them that it is not in Pakistan's interest to join either bloc against the other.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Hello and welcome to program Insight in V News English. Dear viewers, recently Pakistan hosted Shanghai Cooperation Organization's Council of Head of Government Summit in Islamabad, 15th and 16th of October. If you look into this particular event, this was an extraordinary event hosted by Pakistan despite multiple challenges. And among others, the presence of Chinese premier, the presence of Russian Prime Minister, Deputy Russian Prime Minister, and presence of Indian External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, and also the presence of Prime Ministers from Belarus, from other Central Asian countries which are member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And why Pakistan hosted this, what Pakistan achieved, and also there have been reports that over the lunch, there have been gossips between Pakistani Foreign Minister and his Indian counterpart, Jaishankar. And Indian External Affairs Minister also had a very warm shake hand upon arrival at Convention Center. And it is also reported that Prime Minister himself sent Mr. Jaishankar to airport while he was leaving the convention center, that he was warmly seen off by Pakistani Prime Minister, and of course other topics, issues which have been raised in the joint communique, and Prime Minister's all other meetings diplomatically, what this particular summit had an impact on Pakistan, its significance, its importance, to discuss these all and different aspects of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, Council of Head of Government Summit, and particularly these informal indications, gestures, meetings, courtesies between Pakistan and India. In this particular summit, we are joined by expert of international affairs, senior analyst, Dr. Syed Muhammad Ali Saab. Dr. Syed Muhammad Ali Saab, Assalamu alaikum, and very warm welcome to program Insight. We would like to know that what has been the purpose of hosting this extraordinarily mega diplomatic event. And since Pakistan joined this organization in 2017, it was first ever any high-level meeting of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which Pakistan finally hosted in Islamabad. Dr.
Thank you so much for having me, Mateen Saab, on your show. I think SCO is a very important emerging international forum. But before we come to the recently concluded summit, Let's first look at the purpose and rationale behind creation of SCO and what it has become and in what direction it is headed. You would recall that in 1996, it was pioneered by 5 countries, but
Exactly.
you also are well aware that in 1996, the world environment was very different. In 1996, the world was witnessing a unipolar environment in which the US was dominating the world. The Soviet Union had recently collapsed, and the economy of Russia had become so much weak that there was some economic assistance offered by the US as well to protect its nuclear forces, and I'm aware of that. And then this organization was pioneered to establish a forum which could address the security and economic concerns of those countries who do not enjoy a great trust and support from the Western powers. And you are very well aware that after the Second World War, most of the international institutions which were established were heavily influenced and dominated by the Western powers. Whether it is United Nations Security Council, you have 3 Western powers who are permanent members. Whether you are talking about IMF, whether you are talking about World Bank, you are talking about WHO, all these institutions are heavily, and if I may use, disproportionately influenced and dominated by the Western powers. So in mid-90s, there was a realization in Eurasian powers like China and Russia that there has to be an alternative forum which could address the political, security, economic issues and challenges faced by those countries which are not adequately addressed by the Western powers. So that is the context in which we should see the SCO. Now, today, SCO brings together 4 different and important regions. The Northeast Asia, which includes Mongolia and China, Central Asia, which have a number of Central Asian republics, and then you have East Asia, which includes Belarus and Russia. And then the 4th region is South Asia. So basically, SCO brings together these 4 regions, and it offers great promise and hope, which needs to be materialized in order for these 4 regions to be connected together through corridors, but also integrated through trade, cultural exchanges, education, technological sharing, and things like that. So I think now that we are witnessing an environment in which the world is fast moving towards a multipolar world order, I think SCO has become very significant because, and the evidence of that is not just the current number of member states, but the amount of countries which are very important dialogue partners and observer states, which are also keen on joining SCO in the years to come. So that indicates that most of the developing world is pursuing a hedging strategy in order to reduce their dependence on one particular power center. And let's talk about, for example, India itself. India is perhaps the pivot of Indo-Pacific strategy of the US in countering China in Asia Pacific. However, it is also a member of SCO. It is also a member of BRICS, which are alternative emerging power centers. So that indicates that the world is not putting all its eggs in one basket and is exploring multiple forums to meet the economic, political, and security challenges that different regions face.
Dr. Sab, you rightly mentioned that India at a time is member of BRICS, and at a time it is also member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and at a time it is in the American bloc. So tell us that despite these all factors, and you rightly explain that different options, different things are explored by the world powers. Keeping in view these all challenges, presence of India in Shanghai Cooperation Organization, traditional acrimony between Pakistan and India, and China and India also, how do you see the future of this Shanghai Cooperation Organization, that despite these rapidly changing regional security dynamics, developments, geoeconomic, geopolitical, do you think that Shanghai Cooperation Organization will be able to further progress and thrive?
I think the future of SCO can be understood in two ways. What are the prospects that it offers, and what are the challenges that it faces? Let's first look at the prospects. I think in a nutshell, SCO provides the geopolitical framework to reinforce the global geoeconomic transcontinental corridor that China is building under the One Belt, One Road initiative. But I think in future, as has been mentioned in the joint statement, a very significant point is that there is a desire to reinforce this One Belt, One Road transcontinental trade corridor with a Eurasian Economic Union as well. Now, that is something very significant, because if it continues to prosper, grow, and expand at the current pace, then in 5 to 10 years, we can expect emergence of a similar Eurasian trade union as we have witnessed in Western Europe with the name of European Union, which has soft borders, which facilitates trade, which have a common visa regime, and which has a common currency. So if we are looking at in 5 to 10 years down the road along similar lines, then that is, I think, perhaps the way forward. But that is the prospect. Let's look at the challenges. I think there are 4 or 5 very major challenges that SCO faces, unlike European Union. European Union's economic and political security is guaranteed by NATO. And it has a security umbrella called Nuclear Extended Deterrence, provided by the US nuclear forces, which are present in Western Europe 24/7. So when you look at the Western European framework, it is a combination of the political framework and the economic framework provided by the European Union and European security environment reinforced by NATO. Whereas, and it is also provided a huge market access, technological guarantees, and technological sharing by the US and North American countries like Canada as well. But when you look at SCO, you have 2 major powers, Russia and China. But the other countries, it's a reality, are mostly developing countries. In European Union, you have G7. Most of the Western countries are very wealthy. In fact, the wealthiest, the 85% of the wealth belongs to the G7 countries.
Exactly.
So here you have 2 countries, but only one country is rich, which is China. Russia's economy is significantly affected by its current conflict with Ukraine, and major economic sanctions imposed by the Western countries, including Germany and other countries, which were traditionally very big energy export markets for Russia. So Russia has suffered economic cost of the Ukraine conflict in terms of sanctions, and other problems that its economy has faced. So in SCO, you have one major economic power, China, two major powers, Russia and China, four nuclear powers, Pakistan, India, China, and Russia. But in terms of economy, most of the countries except Russia and China are developing countries.
True.
So it is true that if they synergize and combine their manpower, their geography, their natural resources, their talent, their skills, their industry, then they can build potentially a viable, prosperous Eurasian trading zone. But that also faces 3-4 more challenges. First is terrorism. And there are a number of outfits. Most importantly, Afghanistan continues to be a hotbed to export terrorism throughout not just South Asia, but also in Central Asia as well. Secondly, I think there are some separatist movements in different countries, which also are a cause of concern by SCO member countries. Thirdly, unlike European Union, these countries are facing stiff economic coercion from the Western countries. Their tariffs are being increased, their imports are being discouraged, and there's a perpetual cyber war going on between China, Russia, and the Western countries. The fourth challenge is technology denial. These countries, unlike the Western countries, which enjoy perpetual access of the cutting edge technologies from the US and Canada, that is not the case here. These countries are facing major technological denial in terms of major high-tech industry, but also in terms of defense industry. The fifth challenge is, again, the climate change. These number of these countries have suffered significantly, particularly Pakistan. And although Pakistan continues to remind the world, the industrialized world, the global north, about its responsibility and moral commitment that it needs to compensate the developing countries for damaging their environment and economy. But it remains to be seen how it bears fruit. And the last and most important challenge is, again, deforestation and something related with human health and human security. Because we witnessed during the COVID environment that there was a significant vaccine politics as well. The amount of vaccine and the type of vaccine made available to the developing world was unfortunately influenced and driven by geopolitical considerations. So if you add it up, this explains comprehensively the context of the joint statement which came out yesterday after the very successful SCO Summit. And these 5 concerns were politely, diplomatically shared by these 10 countries which were in Islamabad yesterday, that they need to collectively and mutually cooperate in order to surmount these challenges, whether they are related to separatism, whether they are related to terrorism, whether they are related to human or health security, whether they are related to climate change, whether they are related to technological denial. So these are the 5 aspects which I think and hope these countries, beyond this very comprehensive joint statement, will take practical collective steps to move forward and meet these challenges in order to bring stability, security, and prosperity to the Eurasian region.
Dr. Other than Euro-Asian region, you very nicely and comprehensively explained all aspects. Coming to 2 big powers that you mentioned in your conversation, India and Pakistan, both are members of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Other than the platform of SCO, there is another forum which is dormant, or you may say non-functional, SAR. So bilaterally, there is no direct contact, there is no direct diplomatic, political communication. But this Shanghai Cooperation Organization provided opportunity to Indian External Affairs Minister and Pakistani leadership to sit together. So although there was no sideline meeting, but Pakistani Deputy Prime Minister, Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar, and Indian External Affairs Minister sat together. How you see these initial contacts, talking, communicating, speaking to each other, sitting together? And I would also like to draw your attention on a positive tweet by Indian External Affairs Minister. Do you think, finally, question is that these exchange of pleasantries, positive remarks will lead to some better situation, better relationship between India and Pakistan, because both are also part of SCO? Doctor.
Thank you so much. I think it's an important question. I think Pakistan, you know very well, is considered legendary in terms of hospitality around the world. Our food and hospitality is perhaps unparalleled in the world.
And courtesy.
And we aptly demonstrated that, and that was also appreciated by all the guests, including the Secretary General of SCO in his press statement, in his press conference yesterday. But I think it's a good sign that the environment in which this SCO summit was held was cordial, friendly, which is very important for constructive and productive discourse and discussions. However, I think there are three aspects which need to be considered in order to realistically assess what India desired or expected from this SCO summit. A few days before this SCO summit was held, Prime Minister Modi attended an international event under the auspices of ASEAN. Whereas this was a Council of Head of States forum where he sent his foreign minister. What does this mean? This means that this is a very clear signal to Washington from New Delhi that in terms of the future strategic realignment, Modi government prefers and gives more significance to a US-led economic bloc of ASEAN rather than SCO, which is dominated by China and Russia. So this was a very clear signal. And let me recall, before joining your program, I was doing some research. Even in the Astana July 2024 summit, I noticed that even in that summit, you had President Putin there, you had Chinese president there, you had Iranian president there, you had Turkish president there, you had Qatari Amir there. But again, Mr. Jaishankar represented India there. So that proves that India is very careful that it does not want to leave the goalpost open for Pakistan to criticize India heavily for sponsoring and supporting terrorism in this region. But it also does not want to annoy Washington and raise questions, particularly when Washington has put a lot of hopes in India as the major counterweight to China. And let me add to that only yesterday there was some diplomatic activity which is significant because India is going to open a consulate of Taiwan in India, which has been strongly protested by Beijing. So this is within 24 hours of attending SCO. And last and most important point, if I were to summarize and interpret what Mr. Jaishankar said in his speech, it means two things. It means that India is there in SCO as a US listening post. It is not there to participate or to contribute towards the Belt and Road Initiative. Number three, it is against the Security Cooperation Against Terrorism, which is being promoted by a number of countries under the auspices of SCO. So these are the very important realities which we must not neglect. And we, notwithstanding the positive pleasantries and diplomatic norms, I doubt that India would review its behavior in Indian occupied Kashmir, or any substantive resumption of dialogue would only be possible if India does three things. Number one, it reviews its oppression and suppression and violation of human rights in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Number two, it makes a clear commitment that it will not support any terrorist organizations, particularly those involved against Pakistan, such as TTP, BLA, BLF. And number three, it wants to consider reviewing what it did on 5th August 2019 and still considers UN Security Council resolution as the starting point for any negotiations.
Without giving any concessions to Pakistan, there cannot be a full-fledged dialogue, anything like that. Of course, this full-fledged dialogue or making commitment or any sideline meeting would have been viewed differently in New Delhi. My immediate question is that you briefly mentioned about that these blocs and Eastern Bloc or the Western Bloc. If we look into the history, wherever Pakistan tried its level best to lead the Muslim world or to bring the Muslim world on one strong platform, Pakistan faced the brunt of the Western anger. So how in this situation, Pakistan is inviting two big powers, China and the Russia, and the communique of the SCO says that the member countries agreed and showed their commitment to take forward aims, objectives, and the charter of this particular organization. So final question is that in such background, such acrimonious background, you nicely mentioned, and that is from the West, from United States, how Pakistan will show its commitment to further the objectives of SCO and to further reinforce, consolidate its strategic partnership with Beijing and with Russia. Only a month before Deputy Russian Prime Minister came, and now the Russian Prime Minister and the Russian Deputy Prime Minister was here. These all things are watched, monitored, observed by the Western Bloc. So,
I think three things, Mateen Saab. First off, I think Pakistan's principled position towards the transforming world order is that Pakistan is not part of bloc politics, number one.
That's
what Pakistan is doing and will do is to try to delicately balance its relations with all existing, resurgent, and rising powers in the world. And why is that? Because I think it is Pakistan's national security imperative and understanding at the highest level that no single power center comprehensively meets Pakistan's economic, developmental, and security needs completely. I'll give you an example. China is Pakistan's biggest foreign direct investor in terms of infrastructure development. But it is also true that Western Europe and North America represents Pakistan's biggest export market. So once CPEC materializes into frequent trade, and we witness a high level of international trade going through the CPEC corridor. Where are these products going to go?
Important point.
Even for China, the biggest export market is again North America and Western Europe. And let me assure you that China, despite US economic coercion, is reluctant to engage in any confrontation directly with the US. Because of its own economic interests. Its economic rise is dependent on sustainable market access of Western Europe and North America. Same is the case with Pakistan. Pakistan's revenue primarily comes from three regions. Pakistan's biggest export markets are North America and Western Europe, and our foreign exchange remittances come mainly from Middle East, which are again US allies. So it is in Pakistan's national security interest to maintain the goodwill of the Arab countries and also maintain market access of Western Europe and North America. So Pakistan believes that it is in its national interest to maintain the market access of Western countries and also the goodwill of international financial institutions and the trust and respect that it enjoys with the Arab countries, which provide a significant amount of foreign exchange remittances from our overseas Pakistanis, which are based there. So these are the three pillars of our economy, which are heavily influenced in terms of our goodwill for the Western countries. So I think those people who see Pakistan's proximity and improving relations with Russia or deepening Chinese trust in Pakistan, I would like to advise them that it is not in Pakistan's interest to join either bloc against the other. Because I think Pakistan has suffered significantly in the last 50 years. By joining one bloc, it was vulnerable to economic coercion and sanctions from one side and became a threat for the other. I think it is more important and wiser and prudent approach to have a delicate balancing act on bilateral basis without allowing our territory and our interests to be used by one against the other.
So in the days to come, do you see, as you said, that of course India annoyed Beijing by opening a consulate of Taiwan in India. So, but again, taking you back to India-Pakistan relations, when India invited the then Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, Mr. Bilawal went all the way to Goa and attended that particular mood. But soon after his departure, the tone and tenor of Indian External Affairs Minister was extremely undiplomatic. But now, after this conclusion of Shanghai Cooperation Organization Council of Head of Government Summit and the gestures shown by both sides, do you think in the days to come or in near future, you see normalization of ties, trade, people-to-people contact, which Pakistan used to witness in 2010, 11, 12, while Pakistan People's Party was in power? But ultimately, I'm trying to connect the dots, that ultimate future of trade, connectivity, economic development, exports, is it within the region?
I think in order to comprehensively and realistically understand Pak-India relations, there are three aspects which I think need to be balanced. Number one, it is definitely in Pakistan's interest that the mutual acrimony and hostility with India is reduced. And the good optics that we witnessed in the SCO conference is a good omen. However, there are two other aspects which are equally important. The first is the issue of terrorism. Right now, I think for the last 23 years, Pakistan has lost almost 80,000 of its citizens and soldiers uh, who have been targets of terrorist organizations, most of whom have been supported actively by India. So, and the third issue is definitely the most important issue of Kashmir, which India continues to avoid either bilaterally or multilaterally. So it would be extremely unfair to the brothers and sisters of Kashmir,
True.
and also unfair to the families of those 80,000 Pakistanis who have lost their lives at the hands of terrorists if we resume normal trade ties with India without a firm, verifiable commitment from India that it will stop supporting and sponsoring the terrorist outfits which are attacking Pakistanis on a daily basis, and not ending their siege, the military siege, and the reign of terror inside Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir.
Thank you so much indeed, Dr. Syed Muhammad Ali Saab. You comprehensively discussed all aspects of Shanghai Cooperation Organization's government summit, which took place in Islamabad, the bloc politics and the challenges for Pakistan, how to maintain balance between Beijing and United States, and also the most sensitive and strategic aspect of Pakistan-India relations. You nicely explained about that without addressing the core issue of Jammu and Kashmir, without addressing the Indian terrorism in the region, in Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir and in Pakistan, the normalization of tie is not expected even in the near future. So, dear viewers, I hope this insightful discussion about Shanghai Cooperation Organization, India-Pakistan relations, regional politics, relations between China and United States, and the role of Pakistan. It would be extremely informative and useful for you, Dr. Syed Muhammad Ali Saab. Once again, I'm so grateful to you that you spoke to Program Insight in V News English despite your very busy schedule. And dear viewers, Khuda Hafiz and goodbye till our next program.